Hello everyone, my name is Jess and I'm one of the librarians here at Quincy College, and today I'm going to be making a tutorial and showing you guys how to access Gale OneFile for psychology. This is a database that you can use for your psychology courses as you begin to write academic research papers through your coursework here at Quincy College. So to start off, I'm going to first go to the library website. Now, the library website hosts a variety of resources that you can use to help you throughout your time here at Quincy College. So to access the A to Z databases where I'm going to find Gale OneFile, I'm going to scroll down to the databases A to Z section. I'll click on this. And now here we have the main area where you can access all of the databases that you can currently unlock via your Quincy College account through the Quincy College libraries. So in total we have around 69 databases, and I'll get you started on a really simple way that you can begin searching for Gale OneFile for psychology. One of the ways that I like to search, at least within the portal itself, is I like to use the subject search, just because it's easier and I can see the options that I might have if I want to go down and search by the field that I'm writing for. So I'm going to scroll down to P, I'll click psychology, and here it'll give me the 9 databases that are best to use for psychology courses. That'll give me a wide variety of articles from the field that I can use as I begin to write my paper. So here, we're going to click on Psychology Gale OneFile because this is the database that we're going to use today. Once I click on it, it will open in a separate tab where I can begin accessing all the articles that Gale OneFile has to offer. So Gale OneFile also has an interesting setup on its main homepage. We can use the topic finder to visualize connections between search terms and topics and view relevant articles for those topics, and this can be from a variety of sources that are not just psychology. The next one is the subject guide search, which will have a variety of things from English to psychology to history that you guys can use as you go through the Gale databases. And the best thing about the Gale databases is that once you know how to use one of the Gale databases, it's pretty much the same across all the varieties, across all the subjects that you have access to via the Quincy College Library. So to start, I'm going to do a simple search and show you guys how to do that. Then we'll go through and I'll walk you guys through how to use the advanced search function to narrow down your source. And then I'll show you guys how to save articles, how to access them through the database itself. All right, so first let's start with a basic simple search. So this can be a topic that you're researching in the field of psychology, one that you want to learn more about, and just get a general idea of the scope of the field and what's been talked about the topic. This might be a good step in the earliest stages of your writing for your research paper. This is definitely something that I do as I begin to write research papers throughout my time in college and in school. So I'm going to start out by searching cognitive psychology. And the great thing about Gale OneFile 2 is they have the autocomplete function, so it autofills what they think you might be saying, so you avoid any spelling errors that can trip up your search results. Then, once I'm finished, I click search, and it brings me all these results from Gale OneFile. And these are a variety of different results. We have magazines, academic journals, books, and news. In total, from every single resource that we have here, we have about 40,000 sources, which is far too many for us to go through one by one and see which one works for us best. So since we're writing an academic article, I'm going to click on academic journals, which of course limits our results down to 27,250, and it auto applies filters like full text so you can have access to the entire text source as you go through this topic. A couple of other quick things you can do over here is apply filters over on this right hand side. So right now we have full text documents clicked, but I'm also going to click peer-reviewed journals. And what this does, it essentially limits our search again to only show us peer-reviewed documents. So you might be asking yourself, Jess, what's a peer-reviewed journal? What is peer review at all? It's a great question. So if you choose a peer review article, that means the article that's been published has gone through a rigorous process of vetting by scholars in the field who have seen the publication, gone through it a couple of times with revisions with the author, and they sat down and they said, you know what, this is an important article and it adds a lot to the field. And then they publish it under peer review. So basically, it's having a jury of your peers review your article, ensuring things are accurate and correct, and then you're able to publish it into the academic world and the digital space. So it's something you're always going to want to click if you're searching for stuff for your research papers. And it's just a great habit to start as you first begin your search through the databases that you have access to. Another good researching function is paying attention to the publication dates, especially in fields like the social sciences or the sciences. You want to make sure that your scholarship is up to date. So the general rule of thumb is 5 to 10 years is the kind of like the best realm or area of length between publication because the field is constantly updating. So for us, that's between 2015 and 2025, right? And it'll change as years go on. You know, that 10-year span will shift and adjust, and when you filter your results, you can also change it here just really quickly. So why don't I try to do a search of the past year and see how many articles come up when I apply that function. See, so we went down from 26,000 articles to simply 1,157. Still a lot of articles, but it shows you that based on how you search for information online in these databases, it'll give you a different amount of results. And next, I'm going to show you guys how to use the advanced search feature, which will show you guys how to limit down your sources even more than what we have so far. And to do that, I'm going to go back up to the search bar and I'm just going to click advanced search. Alright, so now that we are in the advanced search feature, we can go in and refine our search based on a couple of other factors that maybe we found during our first search or have developed after we figured out what our research question for our academic paper is, after we've kind of constructed our thesis statement of what we want to investigate or research. This is the phase where you're going to want to go in and narrow down your results even more to help you guys get really strong scholarship that will support your ideas and your thesis. So what I like to do first is I like to change my field from keywords, which only searches the key field terms within the document itself, and I like to do a search for an entire document. But of course, you can see here you can also research from a variety of different topics. Like you could do keywords, you could do basic search function, you could do subject, you could do it by abstract, you could do it by author if you have a particular author in mind. But since we're doing something really general, I'm going to go in and change it to entire document. And this is a personal preference too. But it's one of the best ways to get in a large scope, but still keeping our search pretty narrow. So over here we have our Booleans. Now these are search tip operators that we can use to limit our search, kind of play around with as we go through our search journey. And if we use and, it'll include terms that we use in the search box function here. Within the document, you could do or as a substitute, so you can say cognitive psych or psychosocial theory, and it'll substitute based on whichever term you want to use as a replacement. And if you say not, it's a good way to limit population, maybe, or geographic region. So you could say, I would like to research cognitive psychology, not in adolescents or teens, right? So then you'll get a variety of searches that don't include adolescents or teens if you want to do a population that is children, but you keep coming across articles that are for teens specifically. So those are some quick tips to help you in your searching, and you can change that by scrolling to the side here and clicking on one of those. But for now, I'm going to keep the and function as I do the search. So I'm going to limit my search a little bit by doing cognitive for my first search term, and say I want to talk about decision making. So I'm going to do decision making for my next term that it'll search, and I'll say that I want to do it in a specific population. So I'll do teens. Now that we have our first search down, we can also add more boxes by clicking add a row here if you have even more terms you like to include, but this is good for now, just as an example. Then I'm going to scroll down to our search limiters, and I'm always going to make sure I click peer-reviewed journals, and then I'll scroll even more, and this time I'll show you guys how to do the 10-year span that we were talking about earlier. So I like to hit between, I like to use the year function, so I'll start off by saying from 2015, since that's in that 10-year range, to 2025 to see how many articles I get up from that 10-year span. I'll scroll down a little more, I'll hit search, and look at that. We have an even fewer amount of results that have been given to us that is completely different from our last search. So we only have 524 articles. And of course we can sort by relevance, newest or oldest, depending how you want to do that. And anytime you need to, you can revise your search if you want to limit it further based on the results that you've found. So next, I'm going to show you guys how to access the text and ways you can save it or email it to yourself so you can access it later as you begin writing your papers. All right, so now we're going to access the text, and we'll see a couple of options that we have for reading it and ways that you can send it to yourself or download the file, just to give you an idea of how to use the rest of the database. So I really like the way this first article looks. It's on a couple of topics that are really relevant to my main search, and I can see the date that it was published, which is fairly recent. So I'm going to click on the link here, and it'll bring me to the main area. And the first thing that we can see is the title of the article, the type of document it is, the publisher, so the source that it comes from. We can see the authors if we ever want to check their credentials, and we have access to the full article, right? Especially when we've already logged in with our Quincy College username, ID, and email. Then you have access to all these texts, right? And if you're on campus at Quincy College, once you hook up to the Wi-Fi, you automatically have access to all of these resources through the library. So if you scroll down, you can see we can access the entirety of the text. You can read it as a preliminary way to see if the article is relevant to you, or you can download it to your laptop so you can read it later as a PDF. You can also print it within the library on our printers if you're using one of the library computers, or you can plug in your laptop by the reference desk. Just ask a librarian to help you, and we're always happy to help. And there's a couple of other things you can do. You can email the link to yourself. Make sure you send it from that function and you don't simply copy and paste the URL, because that won't give you a permalink. You have to use this function here if you want to email it to yourself, because that permalink is going to give you full access to the text, whereas the URL at the top will unfortunately not work all of the time. And another great tool I want to show you guys before we finish our database tutorial is the cite function. So this is a really cool thing that Gale OneFile does for you guys. So it'll actually give you a citation that you can use for your bibliography or references as you're writing your paper. And since we're doing it for psychology, you guys are always going to want to make sure you hit APA 7th edition. The 7th edition is the most up-to-date as of 2025 for you guys to use for your research. And here we have the citation that you can copy and paste, but sometimes these automatic citation generations aren't always accurate. So I will always recommend you guys to reference to the Quincy College APA 7th edition citation guide. Make sure you go in and see that all the relevant information is in the correct order and format before you submit it to your professor for your class. And that was a quick rundown of how to use Gale OneFile Psychology, especially accessing it through the Quincy College Library. And again, librarians at Quincy College are always happy to help you guys with questions that you have regarding databases, and you can even schedule a reference appointment with either me, Sarah Dolan, or our library director, Jeffrey. And we're always happy to help you guys as you navigate college and your future academic career. So thank you all for watching this video on Gale Academic OneFile Psychology. If you have any more questions, please reach out to us here in the library. Thanks, and have a good one. Bye!